Brilliant. You haven't learned anything.
There's nothing to learn from that.
There's nothing you learned from that.
Something about jellyfish, and what else was there? There was this fella, there was a programme on the telly about survival, and a fella who he looks after elephants, and he's in this little hang glider looking for an elephant that he's looking after. He has to keep a track on where it's going and all that. And one day he's saying, I haven't seen the elephant today, and the fella's like, look for it tomorrow. He's like, no, it's best if I go and look for it now, because it might go further away or something. He said, I wish you'd leave it, till tomorrow. So straight away you're going, this is trouble. So he's going out in his glider, sort of at night. He's looking for the elephant. I doubt it's a
glider.
It's a glider with an engine. It's one of
a light aircraft then.
Yeah. So he gets in that on his own. He's wandering about in the air, looking down. Like I say, it's loads of land. He's looking for one elephant. He's not having much luck. Anyway, I think he gets to the point when he goes, I'm having no luck, I might as well go home. Goes to turn round. Something happens. The glider falls to the floor, crashes.
Light aircraft.
Yeah. That crashes. He gets out. He's broke his legs. Done his back in. His hands. I mean, he's in a bad way. And he looks at the plane, and that's a wreck. Petrol's coming out of it. He's thinking that's not going to fly again. And he has to lie there, doesn't he, for like 48 hours or something. And in that time, everything's being chucked at him. He has a lion wandering around him. A scorpion walked over his leg. Some sort of dangerous snake went in his shoe. Yeah. What else is there out there? Some sort of bad ants. Just everything that's there that could cause a problem. He had it all in his line.
I haven't seen this, but I suspect there's a lot of conjecture in this telling of it.
Bad ants.
Bad ants.
No, just anything that you could think of that's out there to cause you a bit of a problem.
Camels.
He got hot. He got so hot his lips fell off. No, because you have to have a lot of juice to keep your lips sort of how they are.
Right.
So that's the sort of state he was in.
Yeah.
48 hours. And yet he survived in the end. Someone came and found him.
And you thought you were bored doing nothing?
Yeah, no, well,
he didn't even have the internet.
Yeah, but he had a lot of insects.
What would you do then if you landed, right? Supposing we all land, right? We're shipwrecked, okay? There's no food around. But there's a chance we might be saved, like, in a few days. We just got to stay alive just for a few days, okay? Steve offers up his penis.
For what purpose?
Well, it's already you've torn it in the plane crash anyway. It's hanging off. You go, okay, listen, lads, let's eat this. This will go 3 ways.
I should be so lucky. Okay, fine, yeah.
I'll look for something else. Because we're surrounded by water. Why are we eating knob? There's loads of fish and everything. There's more fish in the sea than there is stuff on land. That was something else that I've read about how there's more sea life happening. There's loads more.
What do you mean? Than what?
Than stuff happening on land.
Well, yeah, it's a bigger place, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's more. They're all coming further in because it's getting so crowded. Everything's being pushed outwards. So we're going to get to a point where people won't go walking in the sea because there'll be something deadly just floating about near the shore.
Again, that's no information at all.
I don't know.
There's no information in that statement at all.
Yeah, I said how the sea is so overcrowded that everything's being pushed to the edge.
It's not overcrowded.
It is.
You mean things that are in the sea are being pushed to the edge of the sea?
Yeah, because there's new stuff happening all the time. There's new creatures being made, they're changing quickly. They were saying how, like, I don't know, 50 years ago, jellyfish didn't even have a sting.
That's rubbish. Try 50 million and you'll get closer to the truth.
But what I mean is, in terms of, like, land, we all look the same, don't we? We've had 2 legs and 2 arms for ages. Whereas in the sea, things are changing at a really fast rate. So, like, jellyfish we're knocking about.
The sea is a much more stable environment than the land anyway.
What are you on about?
Well, I'd have thought I wouldn't have thought evolution is any faster in the sea than land.
Yeah, it is.
Well, no. What's the evidence for this?
The
Well, I'm
internet.
telling you now. I'm telling you how jellyfish have changed. And look at them.
And how have they changed then? So 50 years ago they didn't have a sting.
Yeah.
Now they have.
Trilbies. They wore trilbies 50 years ago as well.
And they just spoke with a much more, refined accent.
Just that is quite a lot, though, isn't it? Because jellyfish are nothing.
But
like
no,
I
you've
said to
made
you
that
before.
up. That's not a fact. There's no facts come out of this discussion. Not oh, that's interesting. That you haven't said anything. Jellyfish haven't changed in 50 years.
No, they have. They've changed a lot in terms of...
Well, they haven't changed in hundreds of millions of years, so I don't know what the 60s had to do with anything. I just don't know what influence the Beatles and Mary Quant suddenly had on jellyfish, where they hadn't changed for hundreds of millions of years.
With all this sort of loose, free sex, free love, they were just going berserk.
I don't know yet.
There were no inhibitions amongst the jellyfish anymore.
Things are changing a lot. To think that jellyfish, when they first came out, they were nothing. Jellyfish are nothing, aren't they? They're just a blob. So
When they first came out,
I
when
know.
they were first released.
New by Roncal.
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is, even though they were nothing, they've grown to have a bit of something, just to get by in a busy place.
I
Which
don't
is the
know
sea.
what you're talking about. It's all guesswork and
It's
conjecture.
not guesswork. I've been
It's
up
all
all week. I've been
nonsense.
reading all this and watching stuff.
Carl, you haven't learned anything.
Well, that's not entirely true, because he's obviously learnt enough to have written a poem about some of these subjects.
Oh, I love his poems. Are you getting into poetry now, properly?
I really like it. Yeah.
Is Carl going to read this for me, Steve?
If you want him to.
I think so.
I did one about my kidneys.
What was it called?
Didn't have a name. It doesn't need it.
Ode to a Nephron.
Right, I did two about jellyfish.
Excellent.
I don't like jellyfish. They're not a fish. They're just a blob. They don't have eyes, fins, or scales like a cod. They float about blind, stinging people in the seas. And no one eats jellyfish with chips and mushy peas. Get rid of them. And then there's just a shorter one I did about a jellyfish. It would be spiteful to put jellyfish in a trifle.
Yeah, it certainly would.
So,
That's great! That's really good! Because it's jelly. He's done us this, Steve.
Yeah.
That's a really good poem. It would be spiteful to put jellyfish in a trifle.
yeah.
A little half rhyme.
Yeah.
Do you want the one about my kidneys?
Yeah.
For God's sake, me belly ache. The doctor said it's me kidney. He said he's got to stick a tube up me knob. I said, you got to be kidding me. For God's sake, knob ache.
Oh God! I'm sort of mildly disappointed that they're quite good.
Yeah.
No poet's ever written about jellyfish and kidneys. It's great. Oh God, I think you might have the market sewn up there. It would be spiteful to put a jellyfish in a trifle. I mean, I'm both impressed and fascinated and worried by Carl's new literary outlook.
Yeah.
You know, we've said to him, we've tried to make him appreciate the arts and poetry and explaining like what metaphor does and symbolism and all that. But I'm worried it'll backfire, because what if he becomes clever and erudite and then we lose our little endless well of stupidity? What if we lose our little shaved monkey? I mean, these podcasts without,
It's almost like you were evolving into a human.
I mean, you've authored a book.
Well, I have to say, I mean, without at the risk of sounding like we're shamelessly promoting it, I've only just looked at the book today, because that's the first time I've seen it, The World of Karl Pilkington, and I was very impressed by how legitimate it feels. I mean, it does feel like an actual
Well,
book.
he's put so much work into it. I mean,
He's done drawings, he's done extra thoughts and ideas, and it's very odd to think that that has probably gone now into the British Library, which I think is obligated to take a copy of every book published.
Incredible.
I mean, let's be honest, it's not going to be on anyone's bookshelf, it'll be on their lavatory cistern, possibly next to their bed. But nevertheless, it's hardback and it's got pages, it's a real book.
Yeah.
Will you now read some great works? Will you read poetry at all? Or?
Probably not. I don't like reading made-up stories. because
Fiction.
life's interesting enough, innit?
Right.
If I'm going to read someone else's lies, I might as well make some of my own up and save me money. Is what I mean.
But you do read lies and made up things. You just take them as the truth. Most of the spurious facts and apocryphal tales and ridiculous stories that you read on the internet are, fiction.
Yeah, but as long as it gets you thinking, then it really doesn't matter. Say, like, I was telling you about the sea being full up,
Yeah.
right? How there's too many fish in it, and they're all being pushed out. Then, it was saying about how the jellyfish is changing
Yeah.
from a bit back, just being a blob, to now being a blob with stingy bits. You go, and then...
No, I don't. I wonder what he read.
And
I wonder what he was reading.
then I'll think of what other things are in the sea, how are they changing? And then that's when I might do a poem about an octopus with two heads. Because it's got me thinking. So no longer am I just reading someone else's story, spending a full week reading some other story. I've read a little paragraph, and that's got me thinking about
And it's inspired you to make great art.
with an octopus with two heads. And you just think, yeah, that would work. That's a good way for them to evolve. They've got all the arms, give them two heads.
They've got all the arms.
And, it would work, because like I've said to you before, it is one big head to make it two smaller heads. So it's just looking at science, looking at how things can move.
It's not
on.
looking
But
at
it's
science.
not looking at science. You then speculating on an octopus having two heads is of no value, is it, to anyone or anything?
But there's people out there who are bringing out books who are writing stuff like that for sci-fi stuff. And I think, why am I reading
But that's
theirs?
entertainment. Everyone knows it's not true. They're doing it to...
But they do more than just say, wouldn't it be great if there was an octopus with two heads? They then paint a world in which this octopus exists
I
and
can do
presumably
that.
causes some kind of narrative interest.
I can do that on my own, though, without...
So what's the story of the octopus with two heads?
It's happier in the end. Everyone likes happy ending. He's got company.
But that's not a story, Carl. What? Tell us the story.
What, you made up a story about an octopus with two heads?
No, I'm just saying... I've thought about how the sea's changing. Right, what else is in the sea? Octopus. Right, what's an octopus like? Well, it's just a big head with a load of arms. Right, how would I change that?
I love this thought process.
But it's not a story. This is not a story. It's not anything. It's just some thoughts you've had. It's not...
But a story is there to make you think and have thoughts.
But what is it that you've thought? You've not... I don't see what you've thought here.
I've just thought, yeah, that'd be alright.
I know, but...
Well, like King Kong then. That's only someone who's gone, oh, monkeys are getting better at stuff.
Yes, but it has a story, doesn't it? They go in search...
No, it isn't. It isn't saying monkeys are getting better at stuff. That's not what it's saying. There's lots of themes, but that's not one of them.
Monkeys are getting better at stuff.
No, they're getting better at stuff. The way they try to he tried to go out with a woman. That's them moving on, isn't it? It's the monkey going, do you know what? I quite fancy her. And from the beginning, that is a story that you go, well, that relationship ain't going to work. Do you know what I mean? I've not gone out with women who I've quite fancied, but then they smoke, and you go, oh, that's enough to put me off. Yeah. So, when a monkey's that big, the thought wouldn't even pass my mind.
To go on a date. This could work out. Sometimes it's just, relationships aren't made for each other. Now, that for a story, you wouldn't think it'd go past page 1. Yet you're having a go at me because an octopus has got two heads. Which isn't that weird. When you look at them anyway, they must be the weirdest thing knocking about on the planet. I'm not kidding you. I've never seen anything so weird. And yet...
he's angry because he's not seen anything so weird as an octopus.
But it's not yet a story.
What's weird about it? What's strange about an octopus with all the things that could...
Why is it any weirder than a dog?
Because it couldn't be further away from us. A dog has got human eyes. If a jellyfish had a pair of eyes like ours, I probably wouldn't worry about him that much. But like I said to you, it's that way that they haven't got eyes, they're floating about. I can handle some fish, they look like us, they've got eyes, you can make eye-to-eye contact with them. A jellyfish, what are you looking at? It's a snidey thing, like I've said to you. you can see a lot in eyes. Do you know what I mean? They say, don't trust him. Why? It's his eyes. Jellyfish haven't even got any, and I don't trust them. Whereas if it had them, maybe there'd be the odd one that I'd go, oh, that one's all right.
Okay, Carl, I'm just going to throw an animal at you. Tell me how weird it is, what bits annoy you, how you change it. Okay? A crab.
How would I change it?
Yeah. Does it annoy you? Do you think it's weird?
They are weird, but they're at that size where they can get away with it.
Yeah, it suits them. Okay, good.
Would I change anything? In a way, you know, what you're saying about things not working, he can't walk forwards. So why hasn't something happened? Why haven't they said, you know what, these arms are too clumsy. We need to have them so they can slot away easier, and we can pull them out when we need them, instead of clumping around with them. Because they do struggle. You see them struggling with their arms. Yet they're still here, they're still doing that, they're still designed that way.
What's the weirdest animal? So you think the octopus is the weirdest animal on Earth?
Yeah. In terms of design and everything, and if you lined everything up, say if I'd come from another planet, and everything was lined up in a row, and they said, right, we're going to give you a crash course in what's knocking about on this planet.
Yeah.
And you go, right, go on then. And you go, this is man, here's woman, here's a dog, here's a cat, here's an octopus, I go, hang on a minute, what is this?
Oh, it's only going really down.
That jingle, of course, signifies another reading from Karl Pilkington's diary. There was an animal in the paper today that I've never before seen. It's called an alpaca. They are gormless looking. The fellow who breeds them said they are easy to look after because they're used to harsh conditions because they normally live in the mountains. The problem with this is they will turn useless eventually, and then if we tried to bung it back on the Andes, they won't like it. It's like how people win these live like a star for a week competitions. They're not good for anyone. Okay.
Do you know what I mean? If something's living somewhere...
But he's not going to send them back to the Andes. He's presumably breeding them for something else.
Yeah, but say if eventually, you know, the world's getting busy, there's hardly any room, and we go, right, what can we shift here? What's getting in our way that we can shift? Well, those funny-looking things came from the Andes, bung them back. All right, then let's put them back. And they go, oh, they don't like it. They're not surviving, they're dying out. Why did we bring them here? Oh, it was closer. Yeah, but look, we've died out now of the...
Sorry, this is not with yourself. This isn't happening. Don't get angry about it like it just happened and you're sick of it. None of this has happened yet.
I'm just looking at how it will happen. Leave them where they were.
But you're getting angry about things that you're speculating on now. It's absurd, Carl. Not once have I read here about your anger about terrorism or international, you know, political injustice. Not once have you written about that. Only about the fact we may send animals back to the Andes.
I know, but just because it just annoyed me, that's all. They brought them here. Some fella's getting a load of praise because they brought this weird animal into the country, and yet it's like, well, they were on the Andes for a reason. Leave them there. It was happier there. I mean, I feel guilty when I open a bag and a fly flies out of it, and I think, where's that come from?
What bag are you opening with flies? What bag?
No, just when, like, you know, the bag I took the computer home in, a fly flew out of it, and I thought, when did that get in that bag? Wherever brought that from? And it's the same thing. It doesn't want to be somewhere else. It was where it was. And that's the same with this Polaco, or whatever.
Great news! Get $25 cash back on the purchase you just made. Sign up now.
It's amazing! It really is the ramblings of a madman, isn't it?
Some new sea thing has been found.
That's the headlines on the news.
It wasn't found by sea experts, it was found on eBay. Someone was selling it for $5. I don't see the point in buying something that you don't know what it is.
What do you mean? What do you mean? It was...
Someone's found some sort of shell with a thing living in it.
Right.
They thought, oh, I've never seen one of these before, I can flog it on eBay. Someone bought it and then wanted to look after it, went to some sea expert, and they said, oh, I don't know what that is. That's the story. It's just weird how
now you can get
stuff's
up to
being found on
$25
eBay.
cash
No, it wasn't
back
found on eBay, though, was it?
purchase.
Yeah, but that's where the specialist people sort of picked up on it. It's just weird that... I mean, all I was saying is I wouldn't want one. If you don't know how to... If it's a new creature, you don't know what makes it happy. When you get a kitten, you go, stroke its head. Loves it. right? And you can do that knowing that it's liking it. If I had a little seashell and you go, does it sit in water? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? You could end up doing more damage. So that's why I wouldn't want it. It's nice to have rules, isn't it? It's nice to know what you're doing with something.
Well, as you write in the diary, it's like if an alien landed and wanted to live with you. As much fun as it might sound, it wouldn't be long before you got annoyed with it because it wouldn't eat the food you gave it.
That's what I'm saying, but I couldn't have a go at it because it might not like pasta.
It might not.
Everyone likes pasta.
Wow. That's it for another week. I hope you've enjoyed this half hour of drivel. I mean, some of the most stupid things ever said. I mean, it's like he's got a contempt now for the world. Like, he doesn't care what comes out of his head.
Learning can be frustrating. Can't it? You know, you maybe I'm getting you thinking, maybe on your way home today you'll be going, octopus with two heads. And if you do that for 5 seconds, I've done my job.
Good to have a job in it. So, from me, Ricky Gervais, goodbye. From Steve Merchant.
Goodbye.
And from Karl Pilkington.
Right.
Hello, and welcome to number 4 in the series of 6. Season 3 of the Ricky Gervais Show, with me, Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant.
Hello.
And Karl Pilkington.
All
right. First of all, I'm sorry to do this, but me and Steve have got to bring something up that's been bugging us for a couple of weeks now, but it's reached... you are so fucking lazy, Karl, at the moment. You have time off, right? You go away every weekend, so me and Steve are so precious at the moment with so many things to do, with extras and books coming out and stuff. I've never heard anyone whinge about going in with kidney stones. I know loads of people that have kidney stones.
Not like
They've
mine.
had no, you say not like that because they've had the operation. I know people that had their appendix out, right, an actual under the knife operation, and he was back at work the next day and he had a bit of a sore side. But you have whinged now for weeks and weeks, everything you say, oh, I've had this, oh, I've got to go in again. But you're still well enough to go away every weekend to see your folks or your in-laws,
this is the problem.
or a holiday. And it's just like, we are so, in that, sometimes you've got to pull together, mate.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you say keep a diary, and you said make sure you do a diary for a year.
Yeah.
If I didn't go and visit people and travel the world, what would I do in it?
Karl, I read your diary every week. All you seem to do is spend time in a cafe, having a cup of tea and a bit of breakfast.
That's the
Who
weekend, that's
are
when
you
people do
constantly
stuff.
visiting?
Anyway, let's not argue.
You don't even
People
like
know
your
what we're
family, I
arguing.
thought.
It's not my family, is it?
Well,
Suzanne's family.
you don't like anyone.
Work.
Why are you visiting?
But you say I'm working that weekend. I'm working that weekend. We have to let's put this in first. It's a busy time.
Family's important, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't keep messing people
But this
about.
is all you have to do.
What else
there's
are you
loads of
doing?
doing.
What other job have you got?
Loads of stuff. I don't want to go into what I'm doing, but I've got loads
But
of
all
stuff.
I hear is you're always having meetings.
I
You're
know,
always
yeah.
going for meetings.
Yeah, I know, yeah,
I don't know what that means,
yeah,
meetings.
yeah.
Right, anyway.
Another meeting in a bloody cafe.
Yeah.
Right,
So, no, seriously though. So, you've been on your travels, you've got lots to talk about, so...
Yeah, I've got to go in hospital again as well, haven't I? So,
What's your current state with your old...
I don't want to go on about it.
Well, no, I mean, you've brought it up.
You're fine, you're well enough to go away, you're well enough to go on holiday, you're well enough to visit people, you went on a train, you went to Manchester, you must be well enough, so you're well enough to do this.
I went back to Bristol at the weekend. I had a bit of time off, as you know, because Karl couldn't do the work. So
I know.
That's what I mean,
yeah.
so we all had a nice time.
No, I didn't. I went to Bristol when I was working.
That's alright. But
Well,
it's
exactly.
still visiting a place, is what I'm saying.
Well, that's a ridiculous thing to say. That's like saying a pilot doesn't work because he's visiting a place.
No, because he doesn't visit it. He
No,
doesn't
you
get out
sit
of the
down
plane.
on your arse. Sometimes you hire a car, so you can't be reading or studying. You're driving for 6 hours.
Yeah.
I went there working. We went to America, we were working. I went to Bristol, I was working.
Oh, shut up.
Ooh.
Do you know what I mean?
Getting a bit uppity.
The truth hurts, Stephen.
The truth does hurt, and it's interesting that
Yeah.
he suddenly snapped at you there.
I know.
Because I wondered to myself, if it weren't for you, Mr. Ricky Gervais, what would this man, this little round-headed man, be doing right now?
Fuck all, Stephen. Fuck all.
Yeah, I went back to Bristol at the weekend. As we know, we all had a bit of time off. And, actually, I was quite annoyed because I passed the pub near where my parents live, and they had a band on. You know, pubs sometimes have a band on. And the name of the band, I'm disappointed that I missed them. The name of the band, Rick, was Loose Change. But what I like about Loose Change is it's the least evocative name for a band, isn't it? It's not
amazing.
sexy, it's nothing. It's got no kind of mood or feel to it at all.
Loose change.
It's just,
Welcome. Rough outline.
yeah.
It's just nothing.
The checkbook stubs.
Pocket fluff.
yeah. But, But while I was at my parents' house, they often, they keep clippings of things, if we've been mentioned in the papers, they like to keep a record of them and stuff, because, I like to show it to my grandparents, and keep fully abreast of things. And, I managed to find a couple of them. This is what, I don't know if you've heard this, Carl. It's, for people who don't realise, Carl was making a couple of little 3-minute TV projects recently that were on Channel 4. And in the Sunday Times, someone's written a letter about Carl to the Sunday Times.
Wow.
They can send in comments and views on things they've seen, read, heard.
Oh, excellent.
And this is what someone wrote to the Sunday Times. Who is Karl Pilkington? And why have I just wasted 5 minutes of my life listening to some of his cretinous thoughts on Channel 4? He asked, why are there so many dinosaurs on display in museums? Quotes, couldn't they just choose the best one and just show that? He summed it all up by deciding that we know too much. Somebody clearly doesn't know enough to know that this is a complete waste of airtime, showing no wit, intellect or creativity. That's from Wendy Robinson in Berkshire.
You can't have your critics. You know what I mean?
You've got to have your critics.
Of course you have. If everybody liked what you did, then you're not doing the right thing.
She wasted 5 minutes, and they were 3-minute wonders, so it must have felt...
Yeah.
2/3 as long again.
But think how angry she must have been to have bothered writing this letter to the Sunday Times.
Well, that's good.
I mean,
though.
you
It's made
really
a
must
difference.
have-
It's all about getting people thinking. That's what I always say to you. As long as I'm getting people thinking about what I've said, she remembered what I said.
But what views did you put out in these short films which you feel people perhaps should be talking about, discussing, digesting, thinking about?
Just stuff that was in my head that day when I was filming them.
Yeah.
Is it in your head now?
Some of it is. Now you've remembered me what I said.
Now you what?
Now you've sort of told me what I said in that one. Yeah, I remember saying that.
Yeah.
And I stick by it.
Remembering some other stuff.
Yeah.
I'll tell you now, right? This, if I don't know if Wendy's, listen to this. But,
Almost certainly not.
But listen, right? I was saying about the museums, right, and how they're big and everything, and they've
Brilliant.
got dinosaurs all over the shop. I read that in that museum, they've got something like 7 million bits of stuff in there, right? Now, when I spend 2 hours in somewhere, just show me the good stuff. Don't be saying we've got 7 million bits. Because there was a fella who opened it, right? I did a bit of research on the museum. Fella who opened the museum up.
And what was his name?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter, does it?
What museum was it?
It was the London one.
Oh, the London one, yeah, okay.
So he's in there and he's collecting all this, bits of stuff.
What stuff?
Just whatever's knocking about at that
Oh,
time.
right, okay.
It seemed like
You have researched it.
he never chucked anything away. He's like, I won't put it in the bin, pop it on a shelf.
Okay,
right? So
yeah.
he's put everything on a shelf in
right,
the
yeah.
museum. Then, as time
I
went
think you're
on,
going into too much detail, but just give us the gist of it.
No, but all I'm saying is, he keeps everything, and if you keep everything, sometimes it'll be good stuff, right? And a lot of the stuff was going missing, the good stuff. But people who set these museums up are just as crafty.
What?
The fella who found Tutankhamun, he was pocketing all sorts of fingers and stuff in his pockets on the way out. That had rings on them and stuff. So all I'm saying is, why is she having a go?
But
She's
hang on,
learned
wait,
something.
what's that got to do with someone pocketing? I don't understand your point.
Because she's sort of moaning at me, going, "Don't have a go at the museum and the dinosaurs." But
No,
everybody,
she's having a go at your fatuous point.
Yeah, you're absolutely uneducated,
But,
stupid point that you got TV time to talk absolute shit, if I could
that's not
paraphrase
my fault, is
Wendy.
it? That's not my fault. If someone says they want me to do a little programme and you can do what I want, I went and did what I did. Free speech, innit?
But we just gave you the chance then to defend yourself, and you just confirmed Wendy's point 1,000 times over. What was all this waffle about people nicking stuff? What's that got to do with anything?
Because she's having a go at me. I didn't nick
But she's
anything.
having to go at you for talking nonsense that's of no consequence, which is what you just did
That's
then.
all nonsense.
But what was your point?
Oh, all right, then we'll watch Wendy's little programme when that goes out. Let's see what she's got to talk about. Sick of her. But I've got, speaking of like weird stuff and that, I've got a new.
Well, we weren't, but go on.
No, got a new book. Do you know I had that Freaks book, the top 50 freaks? Got a new one sent to me.
Really?
Yeah, and do you know like everything normally has a name. So like if it's the two-headed fella, they're all nicknames like that, aren't they?
They've got two nicknames, I imagine.
But this new book I've got right? On the cover of this one, it's got like a woman with 3 breasts, right? And she's called the 3-breasted woman, as you'd expect. And there's what else was in there? There's a fella, the one face.
Why is she posing nude though? That's what I want to know.
Showing off. It's not the worst disability, is it?
Well, just 'cause you've got 3, it doesn't mean you have to get them out for the lads, does it?
Tart.
I know.
Well, she looked happy. And there was a fella with like one face but 2 bodies.
Doing one face but 2 bodies.
One face, 2 bodies.
What do you mean
It's
one
weird.
face, 2 bodies?
Surely you one head, 2 bodies.
Ed as well, but it was mainly the face that was weird because he looked fed up. He sort of,
What are you talking about? How
What
can
are you
have
talking
a face
about?
without a head?
How can you have? What do you mean? How did it join to the neck?
no, it did have a head, but the fact is, it was weird that it had one face to me.
What do you mean?
Well,
if you've
of
got
course
one
he had-
head, you'll
yeah.
have one face.
Yeah, I know, but it was the fact that he had one face and 2 bodies that I didn't think.
But
one
why do
head-
you keep saying one face and 2 bodies as
Why
opposed
not
to
one
one
head?
head and 2 bodies? We're all the man with one face.
Yeah, but now I've got one body.
Yeah, well, surely he's the man with 2 bodies then. Again, the description.
Roll up, see the man with one face.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
He's just got like a face and then one neck, and then it splits off into 2 bodies. It's
No,
really weird.
it
Honestly, it's
doesn't.
weird.
Well,
It was ages ago.
Well, no. No, it doesn't happen.
So it's full of stuff like that, right? And what I'm saying is, that fella, you know, the one-faced man, the 3-breasted woman.
He wouldn't be known as the one-faced man, is what I'm saying.
Well, they've all-
that
they all-
isn't the peculiar thing about him.
Yeah, well, they all had names like that. But
Right.
there was one thing in it that didn't even have a nickname. It was so weird.
What do you mean?
It just said unidentified.
What does it look like?
Sort of testicles for eyes. That's. It just reminded me when you were
What do
talking
you
about
mean
strange-
testicles fries?
And what is it? Did he have a normal body?
I didn't even look at that.
Oh,
No,
so
that's what I'm saying though. You're attracted to the oddness of the thing, and that's what I was saying about Warren when he walks in.
Warwick.
You know, it'll be odd for a minute, and then I'm sure
For him it will be, yeah.
He'll get used to you.
you know. I mean, like I've said, I'm surprised that things like that don't happen more, because especially after being in hospital and seeing how the body works and that.
You
How
have no
does
idea
it-
how the body works.
No, honestly, I've got me
Right,
head
you
round it a
have
bit.
no idea. You've learnt nothing.
I've got me.
You've learnt nothing since the age of 7.
I've got my head round it a bit more, and the way that there's loads of people in the world, and yet you don't see people with like dangly eyes more often. It amazes me.
I love the fact that he's amazed by not seeing freaks.
Yeah.
It's incredible. He's walking down the street going, oh, everyone's got one head. That's
Yeah.
weird.
Suzanne, see any dangly eyes today? No, me neither.
It's weird, isn't it? What's going on in the world? Oh.
Warwick's not been the only correspondent. We've had a number of people. Remember years ago we used to encourage people to send in questions, and those questions have been drifting in ever since, really. Just things that people want to throw at you, see how your mind works, Carl. Do you mind answering a few?
Oh,
I suppose you might loosely term these philosophical questions, or at least questions that might help you think, ponder on some of the bigger ideas.
This is your forte, Carl. Philosophy, isn't it?
Question 1. Carl, are all men born equal?
well, we've talked about Warren.
Warwick?
Say if like the Pillow Man, right, the fellow with no arms and legs, if everyone was like that, he wouldn't be. That wouldn't be a disability. He'd be equal to everyone else, wouldn't he?
When someone fights for equality, it doesn't mean they want to be treated literally the same. For example, it's usually about a prejudice, isn't it? Or a lack of opportunity.
Yeah.
If you were just to think of equal opportunities in terms of a job,
Yeah.
if you needed someone for a lookout on a lighthouse, and a blind person went along, they couldn't do the job. Whereas if it was listening for stuff, and you didn't give it to the blind person because you were worried about, don't know, blind people, that would be imposing a prejudice because he could hear as well as you. So if he was the best for that job, he should get it, despite his other disability.
But I'm pretty sure, yeah, your ears are important. in a lighthouse.
I'm pretty sure he's come down on the wrong side of the argument, Steve.
Keep going.
Go on.
No, I just want to hear that, you know.
I mean, if they want to go for any job, go for it, but then don't moan if you don't get it. That's all I think.
Is that your equal opportunity statement?
That's your statement.
Well, I don't take anyone on, so I don't have all these worries, but I'm just saying, if I was in charge of that lighthouse and the deaf fella turned up, was he deaf or blind?
Well, it depends. I gave you
There
two
was one of each.
scenarios.
There was a deaf guy and a blind guy.
And no one else. I'll put another advert in.
Okay, well we've got another question here, which I suppose in some respects is along the same lines. Do you believe in the notion that history is written by the victors, and consequently?
Well, don't tell him what the upshot of that is.
No, I was going to say, and consequently, what does that mean?
Yeah, sorry.
And consequently, what does that mean for history as we understand it?
Just that stuff's written by the people who won it, type thing.
Won what?
Won whatever they did.
But what yeah. But
Well, if it's a war, the ones who won it wrote it. But
Yeah.
of course you're going to do that. That's what you do, isn't it? You shout about it if you win something. If you lose, you go, oh, don't talk about that, it's depressing.
no, doesn't mean that at all.
Because you're not around.
Well, it means very often if someone has conquered a nation or set up a dominance somewhere, that they keep an eye on what goes out, what's propaganda or whatever, or what's taught in schools,
But it's even more significant than that, because it comes down to the very, very minute pieces of information that we see in every walk of life. Prior to black people having their freedom when they were slaves, history, or the history of black people, was not being written by black people. Therefore, it was always seen through white eyes, which often explained, justified, or excused, or dismissed, or didn't even mention many of the abhorrent things that happened. So it's hugely significant.
I suppose you can bring out 2 books. There's loads of books, isn't there? I brought one out. If I can get one out, let the losers bring one out. Is what I mean. Just let everyone have a book, and then you decide. Let people decide which one they want to read. I think they did it with some story where it was like you decide the end.
Okay. That was largely a pointless exercise, wasn't it?
He's got no idea. Carl, do you believe that the future is fixed? Do you believe that your life unfolds as a matter of destiny?
I've heard something about this, where there's some system that it is laid out for you. And even if you want, say if I wanted chicken for my tea, I really fancy having chicken. But when I get to the supermarket, the fella goes, we haven't got any chicken, you're having beef. They say that was already laid out for you, and that day you were having beef. No matter what happened.
Fatalism. There's a slightly more attractive theory called determinism, where they say it's
well,
not
that's
so much.
If you want chicken, you'd go to the next supermarket and you'd go, well, I'm going to find it.
It doesn't mean it doesn't mean you're determined in that sense. Like you're definitely going to have chicken tonight. It means that it was determined, as in predetermined. But all determinism basically says is that it's not whether you can choose. It's whether you can choose your choice, because it's to do with brain states, and we think we have the illusion of free will because you go, oh, I have a drink, oh, I fancy Coke, but something in you happened that meant you wanted Coke.
Well, this is weird, right? Because do you know how I've been in hospital, having me kidney stones done and what have you? Well, as they do in hospitals. And this is why I don't like going in them.
Did I just try and explain determinism to Karl Pilkington?
Yeah,
What
I
the
didn't
fuck
want
am
to
I
stop
thinking?
you, but
I mean, what am I thinking?
it just made you look more of an idiot than
I know
him.
exactly. Yeah, I feel stupid.
But
Yeah.
I'm in hospital, right? And like I've said to you, the annoying thing is when you're in hospital, they didn't just have a play about with the kidney. Whilst they're there, they're fiddling about with other bits, right? And they're like, oh, let's have a
That's
feel of that.
libelous.
No, but that's what they do. Whilst you're in, let's have a, prod about. They took some blood, right? And they said to us, now the weird thing is, these kidney stones you had, it was probably caused by too much calcium, right?
That's what they are. They're a calcium build-up where you're not flushing it out, and so it's...
Yeah. Now, the weird thing is I don't like having cornflakes. So what I'm saying is, what you were just saying there is your mind or whatever. I've asked you before, I don't know what's in charge. But, say like...
You don't, do you?
Say like when I get up in the morning, normally Suzanne will have some Rice Krispies. And she's like, do you want some? Right? Just have some. And I'm like, no. Now, that isn't me saying no. That's the calcium. That's my body going, I don't need any milk. Don't give me milk. I'll have a crumpet.
Now, bear in mind, Rick, that in the space of 3 minutes, we've gone from your definition of determinism to him having a lovely crumpet for breakfast. There's no one else in the world you can have a conversation with where you can make that distance that quickly.
But it is interesting how my body... Have you ever had it, right? Sometimes I can go ages.
No, your body lied to you, because your body said you don't need water, you don't need water, you don't need water.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Like today before I left, Suzanne said, what do you want? Straight away I said, I need some leeks. Now... that operation I've had has obviously taken out whatever the leaks give me. I'm lacking on that.
See, I think he probably has it more than the rest of us, because I think he uses his subconscious more than us. We think about stuff. He is like the leech that is going on chemical memory. Yeah. Oh, he's only gonna rain it down!
That jingle there signifying, of course, once again, another reading from the Diary of Karl Pilkington. Now, of course, for those of you who have not been keeping abreast of Karl's medical complaints, just bring us up to speed, Karl. You had to go into hospital this week, because previously you'd had...
I've been in and out, honestly. I've been in and out of that hospital, just with kidney problems, really painful and what have you. And,
he had kidney stones, alright?
No, but seriously.
Monday. I had a bit of a lie-in today, because I have to get up early for my operation tomorrow. Not only have I got to have tubes shoved up my knob, but I also have to get up at 5:50. Suzanne said I could have what I want for my last dinner. It's not your last dinner, you're going for an operation.
Yeah, but you can't take things for granted these days.
Oh,
I had shepherd's pie and peas. Suzanne made it from scratch. As nice as it was annoying. 'Cause making stuff from scratch means loads of pots, and it's my job to do the washing up. So much as the food was nice, there was loads of pans and that. People who get their last dinner on death row don't have to wash up. Got up at 5:55. You were supposed to be getting up at 5:50 on the other page. You were 5 minutes late getting up.
He's often late.
Often late.
No, just because I needed to have water. Before 6 o'clock, they said, don't have anything after 6.
We'll get up at 5:50 then, like you were planned to.
Don't
You
take
had
10
5 minutes
minutes.
sleeping.
Doesn't take 10 minutes to have water, though, does it?
Well, why'd you say 5:50 in the first time?
Because then it tricks me head, doesn't it? Going, oh, I had an extra 5 minutes.
Tricks me head. 'Cause then it tricks me head.
It got to the hospital and had to wait in the waiting room. There was another 9 people in there waiting to be sorted. I got called in. They sat me on a bed and took all my details down. 5 minutes later, I'd been knocked out. I got woke up when they were ripping a pipe out of my throat. I felt more rough this time. The doctor came to see me and said he couldn't find a stone, so I must have passed it. I said, are you sure? He said, yeah, we filled your kidney with water and expanded it, and there was no hiding place. I sat in the recovery room for an hour while they found me a bed. One of the fellows who was sat in the room with me this morning got wheeled in. They couldn't wake him up. All the nurses were laughing because he didn't want to wake up. I bet they were laughing at me when I was in the theatre. Someone told me they totally strip you when they're operating. I would have looked like the alien on the Boswell incident.
Boswell! Boswell!
It's quite a nice analogy if it weren't for the fact that you said Boswell.
It's
the Roswell incident. Didn't sleep much through the night because there was a 60-year-old fella shouting at the nurse about his pillows. I don't think I slept through a full hour with one thing or another going on. My bed was next to the toilet, so I kept hearing the flush.
How do they sleep in hospitals, though? They wake you up to give you fucking sleeping pills and things, don't they? How do you sleep in there? It's always hot. It's always like 90 degrees.
There's no air.
Is that to make you drink water?
I don't know what it is. There's no air. There was an old fella across from me who kept breaking wind. He didn't even try and cover it. He was just of that age where he didn't care. Just like, that's what I do. I'm in a hospital, leave me alone.
What do you mean?
Just, I don't know what was wrong with him. I talked to him because at first I felt sorry for him. I was a little bit like, you know, he's had no visitors. No one's calling him up, so I'll talk to him. But then he got that familiar with me that he'd just be doing it whilst I'm chatting to him. Just like he's my granddad or something. It's just like, oh, that's what he does. It's like, well, I'm ill as well. Stop doing that. Honestly, unbelievable. He didn't even try and cover it with a cough. It was just like, that's
With a cough! How would you cover it with a cough?
just non-stop.
Got home and sat down. My pains are coming back, but the doctor said this would happen, that my insides are still in shock, so I need to take it easy. It's 9 o'clock. I'm in agony. I can't do the diary for the rest of the day.
Jesus.
So you may as well just tell us then what happened.
Right, well, yeah, after that, went back in. Suzanne just got frustrated with me because I was rolling about on the floor and she was trying to watch Arthur, right? So that was on the other night.
I thought it was with your lodger.
So,
And she said, look, if you're in pain, do something. She said, you know...
you went and got a cold plate.
Yeah. No, use an ashtray. Plates are for liver damage.
She said, right, come on, let's, I can't put up with this. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. So we left the flat and what have you. Got in a taxi. He filled up on the way, which was annoying.
He didn't.
That
He
is
did.
cheeky.
That really, I mean, he could
On
see
the
I was
way
in
to the
pain.
hospital.
So,
Because he's not an ambulance driver.
Did you explain that to where you
no,
were going
I
to?
was in that sort of thing where you just can't be bothered. Do you know what I mean? I was in a sweat and
He
stuff.
came back with a scratch card and some barbecue.
briquettes. Yeah.
So anyway, he gets us there and he doesn't charge us, which is pretty decent of him.
That's alright, yeah.
So I go in, and there's like, I don't know if you've been in like A&E at like
Agree with my emotion.
2:30 in the morning. It's
Oh.
just depressing. Fluorescent light doesn't help because it makes everyone look iller than they actually are. So there was a woman who was just sat there crying. She wasn't holding onto any part of her body. She was just sat there whinging. And when you're feeling bad, you've got that going on. So you just want to tell her to shut up. There was a fella who was like moped over in a wheelchair that someone had just chucked in.
Moped over.
It looked like somebody had just sort of found him and wheeled him in.
Nurse? Who's the guy moped over?
So this gay fella came through. And,
How do you know he was gay?
just the way he was. I'm not having a go. He was a good fella. Do you know what I mean?
A doctor, you mean?
No, he was a nurse.
Right.
And he came through and just sort of went, "Oh, how are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I've had better days." So he got
As
me
you
on
mentioned in the diary, I remember the first time when I came here, they said the nurse might put a tablet up my arse. I thought the chances of that happening had just increased.
Oh, Carl!
Yeah, but I would have let him do it. Honestly, I was that sort of out of it. That
Of course you'd let him do it. He's a qualified nurse.
No, but the way I am now, say if it was just a tablet for sorting out my blood pressure, and I walked in there and he went, "Oh, hello," and he said, "Yeah, let's pop that." I'd go, "Hang on a minute." But what I mean is that night I would have just let him put 3 up. Honestly, it's just weird, isn't it? How your body just goes, let him get on with it, and you trust anyone, don't you? When you're in that much pain and you need,
And they're a qualified nurse, yes.
they gave me some morphine, and my sort of head caved in again like last time, and then the pain went. But anyway, just turns out that I'd had a load of like blood clots in the bit from my kidney to my bladder, and that was acting as a sort of a stone again.
No, it's just,
So
it's
that's
just
what-
a scab, isn't it, where it's curing it. So.
No, but all the work, when they blew up the kidney 4 times its normal size, so there was no hiding place for the stone.
Yeah.
So when they did that, it caused a lot of blood. It must have ripped the sides of it and stuff. And then that blood was in the kidney, and it went down the pipe and blocked it up a little bit. And that's the pain that I had. It was sort of, had problems getting through all this thick blood that they caused. So, the weirdest thing that happened when I was in there, right? The morning, like, after I'd had the morphine and what have you, right? I slept pretty well. But I woke up and you have like a telly for your own bed that you're allowed to use if you pay for it, right? So the glow from that woke me up because they come on at about 7:10, and the telly's in front of your head, right? So you're getting this glow and you're going, "Oh, what's that now?" And I looked at it, and all it had written on it is, "Carl received bad news about your father." Right? And I
No.
was like, is this what they do now? Because it's such a big hospital, do they just text you sort of news to your bed? And I was kind of like, like I say, it was early, it was 7:10 or whatever. Thinking, what's going on? I didn't have my mobile, Suzanne took that. And I was looking at it, I read it again, I thought, it might come up with more, like, what's up with him? Turns out it was just a review for Neighbours. It just tells you... It tells you what's on the telly that day. And there's some fella in Neighbours who's called Carl, whose dad went bad. So that sort of woke me up a bit. I had a bit of a shock then. It was kind of like... So I was wide awake at like 7:15 in the morning because my heart went a bit fast because I thought something had happened to my dad.
Karl, of course, has written a poem about the experience entitled My Ward.
All I've done here, I've been through I don't know what the word is, a bad experience.
Trauma.
A trauma, yeah, I've been through a load of trauma. So I'm just finishing it off with a little sort of picture for people.
Go on then.
In my ward. It's called my ward. Me, a Chinese fella, and an old bloke who looked like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Don't know what was wrong with him, but breaking wind was the symptoms. No one visited him or called him. He seemed quite lost to me. As well as wind problems, he had a colostomy. When I left, I said see you to the old man. Turned out the other fella wasn't Chinese, he was from Japan. I never found out what was up with him. You've got a little picture there, haven't you, of me sat in my ward. I'm sat there with that fella who I didn't talk to, the old fella who had wind problems. And that's what a poem is, isn't it?
But the detail about you thought he was Chinese and he turned out to be Japanese, how is that evocative? That's just a piece of misinformation.
It's just
I like it.
I imagine a lot of people make
I
that
like
same
it because
mistake.
you know why? It's like he even makes digressions within his poem.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like he could have gone back and erased that, but he didn't. He left that digression in, and I think that's great.
It's very honest.
Yeah. So, you've done quite a few bits there from the diary, right? The other week you were saying a diary to sort of be famous and what have you, it's got to have a big event in it. That's a big event in my life, right? Peeps did a diary that had big events in it. You said about the fire on Pudding Lane. I've had a kidney stone here.
You write about puddings you've had.
So, is that as big as... Is that a proper diary thing?
It's a proper diary anyway.
I think, personally, the 5 or 6 pages you've written about your ill health are genuinely interesting, and I'm sure, in years to come, it will be an interesting evocation of the NHS at this modern age, and how it is, what it's like to be in hospital.
What other diaries are out there?
Well, a lot of them are fictional, of course, Bridget Jones and the like. There are lots of memoirs, but to
I
publish a
don't
whole
know
diary,
why-
I mean, you can
Well,
get...
the two most famous diaries I'd have thought was Pepys and Anne Frank.
But
Yeah.
Kenneth Williams' diaries were published after his death. Many celebrity diaries have been published. Alec Guinness, people like that.
And is that just their last year? Or did they do it when they were doing a lot? Because if
yeah.
they're old and sort of not working well, a diary isn't that good.
Well, often the moments, prior to their passing are some of the most interesting. You see their final thoughts and final days.
Yeah, but you say different things when you're ill. When I was on that table about to go under and you're thinking this might be it, different thoughts on the world. Do you know what I mean? Different priorities.
What's the most profound thing that you thought that it was because of your illness?
Just as I went under, the last thing I said to this woman was, "Oh, you look different with that on." And
Oh, you look different with a hat on.
yeah, it was a woman who gave me the injection, and she'd been round to the bed beforehand, sort of saying, "Right, you're allergic to this. Can you eat strawberries?" And I was a bit like, "Why are you asking me that?" And she went, "Well, no, a lot of people are allergic to strawberries." And I was saying, "But is there any trace of strawberries in the stuff?" And she's like, "No, it's just that a lot of people are." And I said, "Well, no, I eat them." And then she's like, "What about fish?" And I said, "I like some, but I haven't had them all." And and then she turned to Suzanne at that point and said, "Do you know of anything he can't eat?" She sort of said,
like turning to the mother.
Yeah.
When the child can't answer.
but she was this woman, and she didn't have a hat on or anything. And then when I went down there, I didn't realise it was the same woman until I was lying there and she started to inject me, and I just said, "Oh, you look different with that on." And then I went out, and when I woke up, the woman sort of came round and just sort of said, "Oh, it's weird that was the last thing, like you said." And that made me think that could have been my last, like fight 'em on the beaches or whatever. That could have been my little thing.
You look different with a hat on, Karl Pilkington.
Oh, God.
In its own way, it is quite wise. People do look different with hats on.
I think his last words would be something like, "Can this kill you?"
Yeah. Suzanne, can you drink bleach?
So that's it. That's the end of this series, the 3rd series of the Ricky Gervais Show. We'll have to give it a rest for a while, won't we?
I'm exhausted.
Thank you, everyone who bought the series. All 24 episodes we've ever done are available on iTunes. So Yeah, if you haven't heard them. But maybe we should do a free one now and again over the coming years. Should we retire from podcasting and audiobooks? We've made our point, haven't we?
I think we've made the point, yeah. I mean, you always leave them wanting more. And let's be honest, we passed that long ago. So, we may as well stop now as good a time as any.
So let's never say never, but for quite a while, it's goodbye from me, Ricky Gervais, Steve Merchant,
Goodbye.
and Karl Pilkington.
Right.
Oh, chimpanzee lap monkey news, you little round-headed.
Right, years ago, people only drank water, didn't they?
How long ago are we talking?
Going back a bit,
Okay.
and it was just the norm. Everybody was happy with that. It was kind of like, what, you're thirsty, have some water. It was just what you did. And it was more of...
Well, no, not only water.
No, it was. It was kind of like...
They drank milk at birth, didn't they?
Yeah, as a baby. But then you don't have that when you're older. What I mean is, there's more now, as we've discussed, there's more of everything. So...
I thought there was fruit juices in...
Yeah, but what
stuff.
I mean, when people were thirsty, it was like, well, have water. They didn't go, what do you want? Do you want this? Do you want that? I'm just saying they had it for a purpose as opposed to something for the taste buds. Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so this town, right? It was in the middle of nowhere somewhere.
It's the detail that makes the story,
Yeah.
isn't it? The pinpoint accuracy of detail. So it was a while ago, and it was in a town somewhere. Brilliant.
In the middle of nowhere.
And what used to happen is barrels used to appear, right? These sort of, do you know like how they have wooden barrels, that beer and that comes in?
Right.
One of those used to just be in this village, and everyone who lived there was used to this sort of drink that used to crop up, right? Well, because they were used to it, they didn't question it. It was kind of like, yeah, it's what happens if you live here.
Sorry, so I don't understand. So what's in the barrel? It's a barrel in the town square.
Well, it's this drink.
And so it's not water.
It's not water.
It's a mysterious other drink.
Well, I'll tell you now. It's like a fruit drink.
Okay.
And back then, I mean, I speak to my mum, and she didn't have a banana till she met me dad, and they were made up of fruit.
Sorry, is that sort of a euphemism?
I don't know what that means.
No, but what I mean is,
Was that he came a-calling with a banana? No. With a bunch of bananas and some flowers.
no, but what I'm saying is, it was like a fruit drink, and for years and years, people didn't drink fruit. It was an eating thing. Do you know what I mean? It was an eating thing.
It was eaten.
Yeah,
What,
it
in winter?
was. You're thirsty, have some water. What, you're hungry? Have a banana, have an orange.
Sure,
whatever.
but the idea of combining the two, crazy.
They never used them in that way. So anyway,
So a mysterious fruit-based drink is turning up mysteriously in this town for years. No one questions it. No one thinks. They
yeah,
just
just
think
because
fine.
it's in that area. I'm sure, like in
Here
the same,
come the lilt man.
no,
Lilt.
but in the same way that in Scotland they'll have fried Mars bars and that.
Yeah.
They don't bat an eyelid at that. Yet when we go there,
Well, no, they didn't appear mysteriously. Did
They
they?
didn't just
They
appear
go-
one day.
I assume they go to the newsagents, then take it home and pop it in some batter.
but what I'm saying is they don't think anything's odd about that. But as time goes on, people have started travelling more, haven't they?
Ooh.
And
You have.
visitors sort of came in to the town, and they were saying, "Oh, I'm a bit thirsty. Have you got any water?" And they were like, "I don't have water. Have some of that in that barrel." And they were like, "What's that?" And they go, "Oh, it's a drink." So they had it, and it was really like refreshing. And they were like, "What is this?" And they said, "Don't really know. It just crops up. It's,
Of course they did.
No.
it's what
No.
it's what you get if you live here. It's part of living here."
Right.
So they were like, "Brilliant. Do you sell this?" And no, they don't just sell it. We don't even know where it comes from. Just have some whilst you're here.
Don't even know where it comes from.
No.
So the
It's
thing
bollocks.
is, this helped the town out.
That's
because,
before the monkey appears. This
'cause-
shit.
Yeah.
So all these people are enjoying the drink. Word gets out, and
Yeah.
it went on for a couple of years. But they say it travels fast, doesn't it? If it's
Yeah.
good, if it's good news, it travels. If it's good news or bad news, it travels fast.
Yeah.
So
But,
news
uh,
travels fast.
Yeah, just news. Yeah, news does. So anyway, so some
Fucking
business.
monkey news doesn't. This has taken half an hour.
So some big business fella who was on holiday
Oh.
in.
Any specifics?
He was from Chicago,
Right.
Oh,
and
interesting.
he
How
flew
tall
in.
was he?
Hold on though. So this is after Chicago was founded.
Right.
Yeah, Chicago's knocking about.
Oh, they had loads of drinks then.
Yeah,
they had
alcoholic.
coffee,
Yeah, no,
tea,
coffee,
yeah,
tea.
alcohol.
Yeah, they had every drink under the sun.
Yeah, but not like
Every drink under the sun.
Not like-
Apple juice, grape
No,
juice,
they
ciders, wines. Every, yeah.
So he came in.
Oh, Chicago was founded. Then,
He came
yeah,
in.
probably
and,
19th century. Oh, there's loads of shit about.
and he was saying, this drink you've got here, he said, it's good stuff, you know. He said, whose is it? And they said, well, it just appears and what have you. And he said, well, that's a bit odd. So anyway, he got a bit annoyed with it because he wanted to take it back with him to Chicago. He knew there was an audience for this.
Well, yeah, because they got bored of tea, coffee, all the other drinks that were available.
Drinks and that, yeah.
So he waited
Mead.
at night.
They've been around for years.
Waited behind a truck.
A truck. Also,
So we're in the motorised age.
Also, so at least 1890 something. I'd have thought.
And he saw this little fella bring the barrel out.
How little was the fella?
It's hard to tell in the dark, and they were quite far away. And the barrels, you know, it's
Tricky,
it's hard to work out.
Yeah. He was short. His arms were long.
So they followed him in, right, and saw what was going on,
Okay.
like how it was being made, and they said, you know what, we can have a go at making this ourselves. And what happened in the end? They tried to imitate it in Chicago. There was a orangey tang, right?
It was made by an orangutan, wasn't it?
And do you know grapefruit juice? They had like ape fruit juice that they were good at crushing the fruit with the feet and what have you. And that's how them two.
So it was great ape fruit drink.
Yeah.
Which probably got abbreviated over time.
Ape fruit juice.
No, it was great ape fruit drink. It was because it tasted great.
That is a load of shit, Carl.
That is why we stopped doing it.